What were your initial expectations or your concerns as a first-time home buyer?
It was definitely a wake-up call of, again, being a homeowner and not being able to just call a landlord and be like, hey, this is wrong.
What is something you would tell somebody who's renting or they're in a house but they need to upsize or something? Like what's a piece of advice you would give to them based on your experience?
Welcome back to a new episode of MillenniUP, our now second virtual interview. And today we are joined by Ms. Jenna Swope. Jenna is one of our previous clients from 2022. We wanted to bring her on to talk to her about her experience through buying a home so that we can actually get firsthand, real life, in the trenches opinions and stories and war stories about what it was like out there. So, Jenna, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you came from, how you found us, and then we'll go from there.
Cool. So I grew up in Bucks County, but moved out here maybe 6 years ago, I want to say, like Montgomery County. Sorry. And I was renting in Audubon, PA for 3 years. Big house, cul-de-sac, like 2-car garage. So casual. And I had literally
casual, your average rental.
Yeah, just your average rental, 4 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms. And I literally was the person that checked Zillow every single day. It was just like a hobby of mine. And I had found you guys through my friend Sam Pagel. Seth, I don't know, were you guys in a group together? Like a network?
Yeah, we were in a networking group together, and we still desperately miss Sam in that group. She's so much fun.
I know she misses it. So she had recommended you guys, and then it was a match made in heaven. So all of your advice that you guys give on this podcast to shop around, I didn't do that, but it worked out in my favor. So
when you know.
Seth just sent Jen along, and then it was
Sam's like, here's Seth. Also, here's Jen.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I do this intentionally, like, depending on who it is. And, I almost always try to put somebody, who's demographically kind of aligned, who can relate. But also with the team, you almost always get 2 realtors for the price of 1, because I think I did a couple showings with you, Jenna, when, Jen was out. This is going to be hard between Jenna and Jen, distinguishing between names. But no, I mean, there was, because of the way the market it was in COVID, it wasn't a matter of, having one agent, is one schedule. So we try to, double up our schedule so we can accommodate the client.
Mm-hmm. It was also the craziness. It was the summer. I think we
21?
started 2022. So I think we started looking April or May.
Spring.
Yeah. We started then, really just because I saw a house pop up in Phoenixville, and I was like, hey, Seth, kind of want to go see this. And then didn't buy till September. So it was a process.
Well, it's okay. So we did a lot in between that time. We made a lot of memories. We have a lot of stories. Yep. So I guess first question is really then, like, so how long were you Zillow surfing for?
Oh, probably 3 years. So really just because of I had an interest in it. I know you guys hate HGTV for understandable reasons, for making unattainable expectations, but that's all I would watch if I was watching regular TV, which also doesn't happen often. So I just loved looking on Zillow to just see what was out there and understanding what you get for what price too. So I think it helped me in the process for sure. But it was literally every day for probably 3 years, just looking.
I mean, we hate HGTV like we hate Zillow, where it's we have our things to say about it, but it is what is directly in front of the consumer, and it is what gets those kind of motors going. So love, hate. Yeah.
The Zestimates are probably the hate.
Not always. I mean,
there's somewhat on. It's the mortgage calculator that I really hate.
Oh yeah.
Estimates are they're getting more accurate. It's unique properties where it's and that it is all algorithmic to get clicks and everything. But we've gone through that before. But what were you gonna say, Seth?
No, I was saying Weather Channel did the same thing HGTV did. Like Weather Channel made like fans of like what, like people will just sit on their couch and like watch like a hurricane bear down on Louisiana like all weekend. The same way HGTV has made fans of real estate. I do have a love-hate relationship with HGTV because it has created a lot of interest in real estate, and actually the consumer, I think, comes to the process, at least in terms of like the house, with a little bit more of a base knowledge, which is good. Estimates are hit or miss. I mean, if it's a really unique property, it can really be way off. The other thing that Zillow is not very good with is people who have recently done repairs or done renovations to their home, because the Zestimate pulls from the public record and it has no idea. Like for me, like I have an extra 1,000 square feet on the back of my house and Zestimate has no idea. So so sometimes it can be good, sometimes it can be bad. But I mean, 3 years is a long time. So at what point, like, did you turn around and say, "Hey, I'm ready"? Like, what was the thing that said, "Okay, this is bullshit. I want to just buy a house and I want to be done renting
and get out of my cushy
or if it wasn't a
4-bedroom,
reaction,
12-bathroom.
or if it wasn't a reaction like that, it's like, hey, I'm getting to a certain age. I need to buy a house. Like, what was that thing that just tipped you over to make the call to us?
Well, for being totally honest here, it was me ending my engagement.
Woo!
I was in a 5-year relationship. Yeah. I was in a 5-year relationship. That was not great. And then I ended that January 2022. And like we had been searching, but it was going to be all on me. Like I was the one it was going to be my name, my monies, my house. So once it ended, I was like, hey, I'm still looking. So then I think I was originally thinking, I was like, okay, now I'm going to wait, maybe do a little bit of traveling here and there. So I did go to Ireland with my sister. So that was a good time. And then once that Phoenixville house had popped up, I think that's what kind of started the whole thing. That's when I was like, all right, let's just do it. I was totally happy where I was. My roommate was great. Again, huge house, plenty of room. It wasn't fenced in, the yard or anything. So I have a doggo that is asleep at my feet. So I wanted to get him a backyard. So I think it was really just like once I saw the Phoenixville house and once I got the numbers too from Mike Thompson, I was like, this is totally doable. And also looking at renting prices, it just didn't make sense. If I was going to move out of that place, I would have been paying probably at least $700 or $800 more than what my current mortgage is. So it just really didn't make sense to me. Like I had it saved. I had been working hard to save it. I was working 2 jobs. So then I was like, hey, why not? Let's just do it.
I love that YOLO reasoning. I think that's actually what we first bonded over when you were like, yeah, so I ended my engagement, but I said, screw it. I'm going to do it anyway. I was like, I like this person. I like this person a lot.
I remember after the first showing, like, because I don't think I showed you that first Phoenixville house. I think Jen. I think Jen went out and I said, hey, Jen, this woman, Jenna, needs a showing. You want to partner on it? And I remember getting a text after that. She's like, oh my God, I love her. Like,
yeah, we bonded.
Yeah,
we bonded over our F-men attitude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
I'll never forget the house that we went to that had the empty picture frames and what I had said to you too. I have a picture of it still. That's for another day.
That's for another day.
All right. So you had made a decision. You're like, whatever, I'm going to do it anyway. Fuck it. So then what were your initial expectations or your concerns as first-time home buyer? If you had any, or unless you were just like, no concerns, I got this. Let's go.
I think I should have been more concerned. I think I was.
Or why weren't you?
Yeah, I think I wasn't thinking a lot about, which has been hard. I think I wasn't thinking enough about the upkeep and like what goes into it once you are a homeowner because of renting, where you really don't have to think about that. But I think my concerns were, it's funny, like I getting bored of a place, like settling down and like being like, that's a commitment. like you are there for, if you want to be smart, 5 years.
Foreseeable future. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that was what I was nervous about, is like commitment issues. So, and that's not why I ended my engagement. I think that was what I was nervous, but I mean, I was looking at all of these different areas and it ended up being great of where I ended up. But I would say the commitment part of it was definitely a concern. And I feel like that was really it. I didn't have a ton of, obviously money was a concern because I was looking at, I had a very, I guess, difficult budget, not difficult, but like it was a limited budget for the area. So just finding something that I wasn't going to be totally strapped. I didn't want to be totally house poor. So I'd say probably the commitment and being house poor were my main things.
How has that translated since you've been there for now 2 years?
I know. It was definitely a wake-up call of, again, being a homeowner and not being able to just call a landlord and be like, hey, this is wrong. So I know your storm door, you said was what, like in your first 3 days or something?
Yeah, second day. Nice big storm. So yeah. I'm getting it fixed Monday. It's been 7 years. I'm getting it fixed on Monday.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think within the first week, like a cabinet broke, like completely came off the hinges, and my toilet was like overflowing at the bottom. So I was like, "Oh, I can handle this homeownership. I just fix this stuff by myself.
I'm an independent woman who don't need no contractor."
Yeah, I was doing plumbing. I was like, "Wow, this isn't too bad." And now I'm here like, "Oh, then my dishwasher broke. Then the closet came off the hinges, like all this stuff." So it's just that kind of wake up call that I think I wasn't thinking enough about before. But it's, what you said.
Yes, we just recorded an episode of I Bought a House, Now What? Mm-hmm. And it's literally for that reason, exactly, to just say like, hey, I think what our second point in it was, things are going to break. It's going to happen because that's what happens. Buy your house, something breaks. I just had settlement on Wednesday and I'm talking to my friend and I'm like, congratulations, you bought your house. Now something's probably going to break in like the next week because that's just the laws of home ownership and how that works. But it's a matter of like who to have, what to do. And the thing I like checked in with you afterwards and you're like, yeah, it's great. My cabinet just broke. The dishwasher's been broken for like a year.
Yeah. I think I put something on like my Instagram story. I was like, when you thought you were an independent woman who don't need no man, and then you buy a house.
I'd like to borrow a man.
Yeah. When I can give back.
Yeah. Again, commitment issues. Okay. So during the whole process, what is something unexpected that you learned, or what was like your favorite memory from it?
How creative you could get in the paperwork.
Elaborate with how creative.
The one house had a very terrifying 6 foot plus tall Halloween decoration. And if I'm not mistaken, did you write into the contract that I would have to keep him?
No,
or was it that he wasn't staying?
It was to exclude Kenny.
Okay, yes.
Kenny.
Yes.
So who's Kenny?
Kenny is the approximately 6 foot tall, terrifying Grim Reaper that was casually hanging out in one of the dining room or the sunroom or something of the one house we went to that had the Starry Night stairs.
Every shade of blue ever on the walls.
And not just walls, on everything.
I think the stair banister was blue.
Yeah. Yep. I have pictures. If I can find them, I will send them to our editor to edit into this if possible. If not, I'll find a way to like put them up on Instagram or something. But yeah, no, that was a fun one. So yeah, I wrote into, if you can make them laugh, you can make them do anything. So that was the approach on that one. I had a good relationship and rapport with that agent, and I wrote into the exclusions. Respectfully, Kenny. Really, Kenny, respectfully.
Ginger was the...
Yes. She was great. She was very nice. And then there were some other very creative things that we did. There was another one. I can't remember. That was like my most memorable one, but I did write in something pretty funny in another one too.
Yeah. You had some very creative write-ins.
Yeah.
I'll have to go through your file and your contracts and see
I
what
think
else.
I think I remember Jenna. I think I remember Jen asking like, "Hey, can I like write that?" I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, listen,
Write anything as long as it's not a bribe.
if it differentiates your offer and it puts personality, and it's like that listing agent says, "Hey, this is going to be someone who's fun to work with," and as Jen does, this, like, of course she is. Listen, in those days, like, good God, like any edge was what we needed. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we had people on our team, writing in like, we're going to bring pizza. We'll throw a pizza party. We had someone, I think, with a pig. Was that you, Jen?
That was
With the
mine.
pig?
Yeah.
There's
I wrote in to have a pig, their pet pig, present at settlement.
Yeah.
And that we would bring treats upon request of the seller's choosing.
Yeah.
And that the seller or the buyer would bring her dog at seller's request as well. There were 7 dogs and a pig at that settlement.
Oh my goodness. I think you did one of those. I think maybe, is there a cat present at one?
Probably. Yep.
Like something
like that we would offer, like we would bring treats at seller's request.
Something
Yeah.
like that.
I'm sure I wrote that into
dog toys, cat toys, something like that.
But we would have gotten that Kenny house, actually. Like they had to withdraw it off of the market, and she was very disappointed because she wanted to accept our offer because we were fun.
Which honestly, it all worked out that I did not get that because it was slightly over the monthly that I was hoping to be at. So I think it would have been like 200, 300 more than what I have now. It was also a lot of house.
It was. I was just going to say that it was a lot of house.
Yeah, it was a lot of house.
How many
so do you agree to say that you agree with the saying that the right one is the one that works out?
Oh, yeah, annoyingly, yes. Because I wish I wasn't. Like, I never used to be like, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
But like, annoyingly, it was right. Yeah.
Yeah, because we weren't shy with putting out offers. How many offers would you say that we've put out there?
I think 6 or 7.
Yeah, something like that. Oh, don't forget the ghost house.
Ghost house.
The one that Jackson said it was creepy,
and
the phone rang while we were there.
And I was like, I trust you, Jackson. I trust you.
It was the Jehovah's Witness house.
Oh, yep. I forgot it. Wow. It's all coming back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We had Jehovah's Witnesses approach us after one showing and to show that we are prepared for anything. However, Jen is the one who shut them down. I don't remember exactly what we said.
Totally forgot about that one.
Sorry, I'm atheist.
Yeah, I think that's what I said.
Yeah.
I'm not, but it's fine.
Mission accomplished, though.
Yeah. Do what you gotta do.
Yeah. So, needless to say, it was quite fun. It was a journey, and it was the definition of, you got to set yourself apart, do creative things, have patience, and know that the right thing is the one that worked out. Because actually, we weren't initially looking. I mean, we were kind of looking in where you're at, but it was slim pickings until the one that you got is one that came up.
We saw one other in this area.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it had like some kind of tree in the back. Was it like peach tree or apple tree? I forget.
If it's what I'm thinking of, it was peach tree.
I would know if you showed it to me.
I think it was like a little peach tree. That one was so cute. And I think that one was maybe one I was sad I didn't get. But again, like that one was not updated. It was outdated. It was a lot of, I think, wood paneling. So it was an old house, like so is mine. But the fact that mine was a complete flip and all of the design choices were beautiful. Once I saw the countertops, I was like, all right, I'm sold.
That's it.
You got butterball countertops.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and you also saw, sorry, I keep cutting you off.
No, I was going to say a lot of times, like that's what happens. Like when my wife and I bought our first house, it was a spice rack. It was one of those ones you pull out like a drawer, but it was 3 levels. And I remember her pulling it out and then her eyes lit up. She looked at me. I was like, okay, we're buying that.
I love that.
And we hadn't even been in the second floor of the basement. She was just like, oh my God, this is it.
For the spice rack.
Yeah.
But why'd you decide to buy your house? Spice rack. Yours is butterball countertop. Yeah, so you were also very open-minded with the like styles and conditions and everything that we saw. Like I said, we saw anything from like blue, horribly painted houses to a horrific flip. I don't know if you remember that one that had like the tile on the wall in the living room. And we were like, how do you even like drill through that? And like the stairs weren't even like finished or like, so awful flip. And then we like, it was it's like the Goldilocks and the Three Bears. And it's like, you just got your just right. Like the combination of everything all in one house.
Yeah. No, it was because I would have loved to have like a completely outdated house and to have like done all of the aesthetic parts of it. I didn't want to get into like knocking down walls or go into the studs or anything like that. But I would have loved to have done like a completely updated thing. But then there was a few that we saw where you would have to touch every single thing. And I was like, at this point, I can't put in another whatever $1,000. So again, this one works out completely.
I want to chime in there too, because I think that's important to talk about a little bit too, because it's not just about money, it's about time. Like you're young, you're building a career, I guess, I mean, you're newly single. I have no idea, like, but I know you're very into, fitness and hanging out with friends and stuff. And it's like people, I think, too often go in and, they go in and they just think, well, wait, this is going to be a lot of money. But it's also like once you start doing these renovations, it can be time consuming too. So I think it's important for people to understand that's kind of a two-pronged effort. But the flip side of that is you get two things. You get a reduction on the price, but you also get what you want. Like you get to put in what you want. And sometimes that's more important for people. So it's all kind of like a mix. We try to drill down with people. And some people have no idea or no preference. And sometimes they're like, I won't know it till I see it. And it's all by feel. But I think that's an important thing to kind of point out. Like, what is something, though, like you would give? And just to be clear, Jenna bought, like, this isn't like a 2020 purchase. Like, she had higher interest rate. This wasn't anything where it was like, something where, like, we wanted to bring Jenna on because she's very relatable in terms of the thought process and the demographic of our audience. But what is something you would tell a first-time home buyer, or maybe it's something you're telling your friends now? Like, what is something you would tell somebody who's renting or they're in a house but they need to upsize or something? Like, what's a piece of advice you would give to them based on your experience?
Ooh, well, honestly, the amount of people I've told, it was one of your guys' first podcasts about everyone complaining right now, the interest rates are so high. They're like, oh, I'm going to wait. The amount of people I have told, hey, my realtor has this podcast and they talk about this. And people are like, shut up. So I've told so many people that it's like, okay, if you can hold on to the interest rate right now, like just do it. You don't have competition versus, okay, if you wait a year from now, you're going to be waiving inspections, what have you. I think the waiving inspections things would be, no, we should never go back to that. I hope we never get back to that. Like that was one thing.
We're kind of in it again, but there's some ways.
We've got all kinds of tips. We got all kinds of workarounds for that now. So.
Which you did for me, and I didn't even know that was the thing. We did a walkthrough inspection.
I was going to ask actually, because I remember we did that, and how you felt about that workaround for it. Because I know that you waived inspections in your contract after we did the showing consult inspection, and how you feel that was for a workaround for the waiving inspections.
That was something I learned. I didn't know that was a thing. So we waived the inspection as like we can't back out, but we did a walkthrough for strictly informational purposes. And I think it went really well. Again, knock on wood, I haven't had any of those like big issues. I think we just discovered during that my shower didn't get hot water. I showered for the first, I think into November, I was taking cold showers. And
that wasn't the first thing you addressed. Okay, I don't take responsibility for that one because we did that. He said it. I hope you like cold showers.
I know. I literally
hear they're good for your health or something.
It was getting into November and I was like, all right, this is getting a little tough. So then I just had a plumber come out, but all it was the people installed the
cartridge.
Yeah.
It's a simple fix.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that was fun. But yeah, for first time home buyers, like I would say my biggest thing of what I wanted going into it too, because we've talked about this a million times, is that things go wrong, is have a cushion still. Really focus on having that cushion because things do go wrong. I wish I had a little bit more of a cushion, but just because, neurotic like that, and it was scary to watch my, 2 of my best friends, 3 of my best friends, 4 of my best friends, 5 of my best friends, 6 of my best friends, 7 of my best friends, 8 of my best friends, 9 of my best friends, 10 of my best friends, 11 of my best friends, 12 of my best friends, 13 of my best friends, 14 of my best friends, 15 of my best friends, 16 of my best friends, 17 of my best friends, 18 of my best friends, 19 of my best friends, 20 of my best friends, 21 of my best friends, 22 of my best friends, 23 of my best friends, 24 of my best friends, 25 of my best friends, 26 of my best friends, 27 of my best friends, 28 of my best friends, 29 of my best friends, 30 of my best friends, 31 of my best friends, 32 of my best friends, 33 of my best friends, 34 of my best friends, 35 of my best friends, 36 of my best friends, 37 of my best friends, 38 of my b savings disappear. But I had the amount of times I had to tell myself, like, no, this is why you have the savings. This is why you were working 2 jobs. You were saving for this house. So I would say just still having that cushion afterwards for when things do go wrong was my biggest thing.
That is good advice, because that's the thing is, like, we'll talk to the lender, and any old lender will say, like, oh yeah, no, they can afford it, but like one of the most important things is, like, okay, but with what quality of life?
Right.
Like, to be house broke, or to actually be able to continue to live and be able to, like, maintain the house that they are getting. Because like, I don't want somebody to be eating ramen for the next like 9 months after they buy their house, because that's the only thing that they can afford with everything that they just paid out of pocket. So it's like, kind of like bank those things up, prepare for things that can go wrong. So I'm glad that you said that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I will say all the lenders we work with have that point where they'll say, listen, they can afford it. Like, or they can, like, we can approve them for that money. But
should we?
That's a big payment, So
Right.
I had a couple last year where, they were trying to just put it in her name. And my lender just called me out of the blue, and he's like, I can write this loan, but he's like, God, it is a lot of money for that income. And so like our lenders, our title, our inspectors, everybody is an extension of our own philosophy, which is 100%. No one goes in house poor. Yes, it's going to be a little uncomfortable. It's going to be an adjustment, but I always tell people, it's like, listen, lenders, realtors, everyone's going to go home after settlement, and you're going to be getting every 30 days in your mailbox a payment that you need to pay. And like, it's super important that you are comfortable with that, because like Jen said, it's like your quality of life, because finances are a huge pain point for people, especially couples. They don't like talking about money, and we want the house to be a piece of a wealth building, of a life of wealth building. And if you're overpaying for your house, like, it stops everything else in its tracks. Even if it's just being able to go on a great vacation once a year, but also like for families, it's like, setting aside money for college, setting aside money for eventual retirement or other things that they want to do. So yeah, I can certainly appreciate the idea that not putting too much financial stress on the homeowner is key. What would you say like your plan is? Like, so you've got this house, you've had 2 years, you've got a ton of equity now. Where do
you see yourself in 5 years?
Yeah. What's any big plan? Or are you just going to keep slaying this mortgage and building that nest egg there?
Yeah, I think about it so often. There's times where I'm like, screw this, I'm going to rent out my house and I'm going to move in with my parents. And that's just not feasible and not something I'd want to do. And like, I work for a property management company. So sometimes I'm like, whatever, I'll just move into theirs. I'll get a discount. I'll rent out this house. So constantly think about that. But I would say, like, ideally, I would love to have this house, not forever, but like to have it as like potential rental down the road if I do meet a man that I can tolerate for a while.
Godspeed.
That's a hard ask.
So
ideal situation, I meet a man I can tolerate, and either he has not bought a house and can use first time home buyers percentage, or like has a renting space, whatever, and then I can have my house as a rental. If that's not possible, then I would think like maybe 5 years, maybe upgrade and sell. But I would ideally want to keep this as to rent out eventually.
Yep. And again, having that house with a payment you can swallow, it makes that rental and that wealth building tool, you can perpetuate that even after you move on with your life.
Yeah.
The house will not only have served its purpose, but also it will continue to serve just a different purpose for you long term. And that's what my wife and I did. We sold our first house, or we rented out our first house for 7 or 8 years,
Nice.
And it was a great financial tool. So
yeah.
And I just want to say one more thing too, is just to go off something you said earlier, was that like advice that you're giving to other people is like, why are you waiting? Just like get it now while you can, and all of that. Because like, you were the the literal perfect example. I remember I was talking to you one day, like a couple months ago, and I'm like, I wish I could take you and clone you into everybody else, because like you understood the fact that it's like, because when you like your interest rate is lower than what things are right now. But at the time you were scrutinized like pretty heavily with like, because they had just gone up and out of the whole like 3% range and had finally started like shooting back up. And at the time they were super inflated. They were telling you like, well, no, like, why are you buying now? Like the interest rates are so high now. And you were like, because because
yeah.
Right. And like, you didn't hear any of that. And because you bought when you did, you were able to get what you wanted, got the right thing. And now interest rates are higher from when you purchased. But you did it because you said, because I want to do it right now and because it makes sense. And everything ended up working out. And who knows, down the line, you still might be able to refinance down to a lower rate also. But you just said, because I'm not worried about then, I'm worried about right now and what I need and what I want to do now. And you are now, and then I texted you a few days later. I'm like, hey, look at this house. It's for sale by you. You have so much equity in your house now, and you only bought 2 years ago.
I know. Luckily, like the area has been up and coming for the last few years, and they just have built brand spanking new townhomes and condos. So that's shooting up our equity. And even just like my little row of row homes, they flipped one a little bit down. A few of them, others are empty. So like everything's going to shoot up. And I remember when we first put the offer in versus when I closed, interest rate went up 0.2%. And then I think maybe a month later, it was like probably 7.5%. So I think I got in at a perfect time. Obviously, would I have wanted a 3%, 4%? Yeah, but it wasn't.
But you didn't wait for it to go back down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
you
didn't
try to time the market, which is really what, there's no investment out there. There's people are paid millions of dollars a year to try to time the market on Wall Street, and they can't do it either. It's like, you just can't do it. Your logistics and your personal living situation needs to override the idea of waiting. And we have so many people who are like, I'm waiting for interest rates to go down. It's like, yeah, well, if you wait for interest rates to go down, it's going to be like Lure of the Flies out there again, because everyone who's thinking your way is going to be back in the market, and you're going to end up spending more money for the house anyway. So you took our advice, which was great. Or I guess you took Jen's advice, because I think Jen was the one that was the mouthpiece here. But no, I mean, it's smart. And, I think I showed the one down the street from you. My lady didn't want it, but yeah, that's like a totally up and coming area. And that's the other thing. It's like, if you buy a house in a good area, the appreciation will take care of itself.
Yeah. And that's why I'm so happy I did do this area. I know I was looking in another area. I won't say what it was, but at one point I said to Jen, after I bought this house, and I said, yeah, no one voluntarily goes in that area.
Driving into it was such a pain in the ass too.
Such a pain.
When you were like, I don't want to do that anymore, I was like,
oh, it was that's where a lot of the houses that were in my budget. Like Seth, you even showed me one too in that area, and they're all fine. But also taxes were absurd.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy where I ended up.
Yeah. So
well, I think that's a really great place to leave it. So thanks for jumping on with us. Unless Seth, do you have any other questions?
I don't. I think this is great.
Cool. Well, love having you on. Love having you as always. Coming from a fellow MillenniUP frequent listener and super fan.
Yeah. I'm a little bit behind right now, though.
What was that?
I'm a little bit behind right now, but I'm catching up.
Well, catch up. And then you can share this with everybody.
Commute. I have a 10-minute commute, which I'm not complaining about. Trust me. But it's hard to get significant listening time.
All right. Well, then we'll make sure this doesn't drag out even longer too. So if you want to find Jenna on Instagram, good luck, because she wants to be unfoundable. But if you want them to find you, feel free to plug yourself.
Oh yeah, you can't search me by name. It's so hard.
Nope. Even I try to tag you and stuff, and I'm like, why can't I find her? But otherwise, you can catch all this stuff on our Instagram, MillenniUP Podcast with double everything. And then until next time,
see you guys.
Thanks.